Welcome to Extra Takes, hosted by Northland Church Senior Pastor Dr. Joshua Laxton. Join us each week as Pastor Josh reveals the rest of the story behind his sermons. We'll discuss how those who follow Christ can live out a biblical vision for the church in our world today.
Well, hello, Northland family and friends. Welcome to another episode of Extra Takes. I'm your co-host, PJ, along with Matt Shiles, who I'm telling you, just partner in crime that I need for a Monday as we record this.
Let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, I've already had my heart rate rise today. I'm not going to tell you why. No, I'm just joking. Just leadership stuff, leadership stuff. Like, yes, my heart rate does rise for certain
level
things.
Were you in?
I don't know. Man, I definitely probably got to level 3, level 4.
Hey, now.
Yeah, I was really frustrated, because I'm like, man, and it actually had something to do with breakthrough, because I'm like, well, undoubtedly this group hasn't gotten to a breaking point, and so anyways, it's just fun leadership stuff.
It's interesting how God orchestrates or certain things happen, because I even heard a congregant come up to me and say, man, what he's preaching on this series is exactly what I'm going through and what I need in my job right now.
Yeah.
So it's just fascinating that, that this topic can hit all of us in all sorts of different ways.
It does. I mean, it does. It is comprehensive in the sense of areas.
And we're not immune to it.
No, and that's part of it again. I mean, I just want the church, and this is part of what it's the vision series for the church. We're praying for breakthrough. We're not. I don't believe we're in the moment where we've experienced the sudden moment. I don't believe that with all my heart. I believe that with all my heart. We have not hit that, level. So we're still at that. There might be some people that's on the breaking point, and there's some people that need a breakdown. I mean, because this is part of where I don't want us. I mean, and here's the thing. It's not that it's about me. I don't want us. The Lord doesn't want us to just be a status quo church. The Lord doesn't want us to be a comfortable, convenient church. Like, He wants us to actually lay it out on the line. He wants us to be sacrificial. He wants us to be generous. He wants us to be on mission. He wants us to reproduce. He wants us to, this is the heart of God for His church. And so, and we're just in the process. Like, we've just really begun the process of really turnaround and coming back and experiencing renewal. And so in some sense, if you look at Nehemiah and rebuilding the wall in 52 days, maybe we're on day 7.
Yeah. Or maybe we're still in the 140 years.
No, hopefully not we're in 140 years. But, but yeah, we're in that process. And you don't know how long it's going to be.
Yeah.
But this is what I want people to know just from an organizational standpoint, because I do know that there are people who work for businesses. Like, if you've lost market share, you think about BlackBerry. BlackBerry needed a breakthrough and they never experienced the breakthrough. And there's reasons why. Like, if you even look at the story, there's actually a documentary or even a movie on BlackBerry. I can't remember. I've read enough books where a lot of authors have used BlackBerry. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about the fruit BlackBerry. I'm talking about the cell phone that was in the early 2000s, 2005, 2006. They took the market by storm.
Everyone had one.
I had one. I remember I was like 19 and I thought I was the stuff, because I had the BlackBerry attached to my hip. But here's the thing, that they got too comfortable. And they really relied on the past, and that their past actually bit them in the rear, because while they needed to continue to innovate, which they had all the money to innovate, you got Steve Jobs and then and Apple working on the iPhone behind the scenes, and they're like, oh, that won't, it's kind of like, well, now it's pride. Now there's this internal, so anyways, companies, businesses, teams, because this is where, going back to football teams, and whether it's the NFL or college football, everybody's firing their coach because I think they're looking for a silver bullet. Who's going to come in here? And it's kind of it doesn't work. Sure, you might get somebody like the Pats did with Mike Vrabel, but if you know his story, so he was the coach of the Tennessee Titans. and then he was actually out of work. So the Titans let that sucker go. And he was actually out of work for, I think, a year, maybe two. He was consulting for, I want to say, like the Browns. You can't get a worse consulting job in the NFL than consulting for the Browns.
They need a lot of
they need, yeah. So, but what Vrabel has done, Mike Vrabel, I mean, now they lost obviously yesterday. And if you're listening to this on Wednesday, obviously they lost on Sunday, the Super Bowl.
Sorry for spoiling it for you if you hadn't watched it.
Yeah. Or no,
No, you're not sorry.
But I mean, he completely turned around the Patriots in 1 year. Because they were after Brady left, I mean, they had no one.
Yeah, they won
3
or 4 games.
Yeah, and for 2 years in a row. And so Vrabel comes in and completely turns them around. So I use him as an example as so all of these NFL teams that fired their coaches and then bring on these, in some sense, no names or coordinators. I mean, you're kind of shooting in the dark. Maybe, I mean, they really are, even though they probably have an intense interview process. What we see, this is a pattern that we see. So anyways, Mike Vrabel got fired and then he turned around. But if you look at what he got fired, he got fired and the team that he's coaching, I mean, it's not like they're only winning 2 or 3 games. I mean, they're competing, and they're winning, 7 out of 13, 14 or whatever, 16 games now, and so they have a record of 8-6 or 9-6 or so it's not like, so it's like if we don't go to the Super Bowl, we're going to fire the coach.
So this is fun. We're 5 minutes in. I've got you fired up already.
Well, because I'm just using there's people that want silver bullets and breakthrough, and I'm telling you that's not the way breakthrough happens.
Yeah, amen.
So
what I'm excited about today is we're talking about Breakthrough Week 3, and this is February 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yeah. Today.
We're recording on Monday, and we still have a Monday night service tonight. Yeah. The first one. So I'll talk about that in a little bit later. But I am interested, and we won't know, but I'm interested in how this conversation may help inform how you tweak or preach tonight. Because we know from these conversations, every time you preach, it's different. And now even having an extra day and some extra time to process. Are you imagining some things coming out differently?
No, not for this one. I mean, not for this one, just because there's a lot there, and I really do stick to the slides because it really is more. I mean, yes, do I preach elements? I do.
Yeah.
But it's almost like seminar-esque, where hey, here are enemies. And let me actually give you some wording to be able to be aware of the enemies that are lurking in your own life. And then the 10, the 10 ways that we overcome. I mean, there's, I say things probably differently. Yeah, because I actually didn't write a manuscript for this one.
Okay.
I just did the slides for this. But I will say something very similar, preach your power.
Yeah.
I'm preaching my power.
Yeah.
and I do like the cool runnings. I only did that at the 11 o'clock, I think.
I didn't.
The cool runnings at least. I was alluding to when Junior is.
Yeah.
He's looking at the mirror. I feel pride. I feel power. But I couldn't say the rest, or I see pride. I see power.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. I couldn't say the rest. I couldn't.
Man.
Well, I could have, but then I probably would got emails. I probably had people walk out, and I don't want to.
It's been a while since I've seen that movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah. I love that scene.
The Jamaican bobsled team is back in the Olympics.
They're back in the Olympics. Snoop Dogg interviewed them.
All right, so let's dig into this week. We were in several chapters of Nehemiah 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And as a reminder, the definition that we're doing for breakthrough is when your faithful movement brings a sudden moment of forward momentum for you to continue living out your God-given purpose. And this is, you keep on preaching to us individually, but also corporately And I don't want us to forget that fact that this is not just a sermon that's to each of us individually, but this is to us as a church at the beginning of this year. And the main point is, you said it a lot of different ways, but it was you'll never experience breakthrough unless you ... And there was, 5 different ways: survive the sabotage, overcome the obstacles, opponents, or oppositions, endure the enemies, break through the barriers, and win the wars.
Yeah, I want to say something about endure the enemies.
Okay.
I want you to note that Nehemiah never attempts to fight the enemies the way the enemies want to fight him.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, I mean, this is the heart of God, because, God never, and this is where we look at Jesus, his enemies. How did he actually endure the enemies? He endured the cross. Yeah. Now one of these days, and this is part of where we're always going to put it back into the Lord's court of how he wants to judge. Because he's ultimately the judge. He's ultimately the executioner as well. And so at some point, he's going to deal with the enemies. And so what we have to do is we have to endure the enemies, the attacks of the enemies, the threats of the enemies, all of that. So God's people are really never called. They really are never called to be on the war path of fighting the enemies of God the way that the enemies of God would fight the people of God.
Yeah, because when you start doing that, you lose.
You do lose, because God has actually called us to be a light and when I say a presence of, grace and mercy and love. And then people would say, well, what about the promised land and the war there and conquering? Well, again, you got to know the context.
Yeah.
So, and just so that, again, if you're not familiar, you got to go all the way back to Genesis. I believe it's chapter 17, maybe 15. I think it's 17 though, where God tells Abraham, "I'm going to give you this land, but you're not going to really see this land because the sin of the Amorites is not yet complete." So God is going to show grace to the inhabitants of the promised land for over 4 centuries. And then God is going to use his people as a tool of judgment to actually fully cleanse his land. Because you have to understand, the entire earth is the Lord's. So, when again, this goes all the way back to Genesis. And hey, this is extra takes, by the way.
Yeah, Genesis 15.
It's Genesis 15, so it is 15. Okay. So when you're looking at creation, God is setting up his temple, Garden of Eden, the Holy of Holies. Then you have the outer rim, and so what you have is the entire earth is the domain of God, where the garden is the central location of what we would call his Shekinah glory. It's the epicenter of God's presence.
The Holy of Holies. Right?
So when you look at it, and the only reason I'm telling you that is because, the promised land, God, because all of the earth is the Lord's, but what God is going to do, he's going to deem the promised land as his Holy of Holies, by which he's going to set up his temple, where he's going to actually set up the Shekinah glory of God, his epicenter right there in the temple. So what he had to do is that he had to wipe clean the inhabitants of the promised land so that he can make the land holy. Okay, which is the reason why he told his own people that if you're not going to be holy, I'm going to kick you out of the land, because I can't let anything unholy. Which is the reason why, when you look at what the Bible teaches at the very end of time, when he's going to come back and judge the world, then what we're seeing is that he will now wipe clean the earth, because the earth is his and the fullness thereof. All of that saying, we got to let God do that work. Our work is to be faithful to what he has called us to be, which means that we will have to endure the enemies and their attacks, as opposed to turning on them, which then goes to show you about why I am so adamant about how we engage culture. God has not called us to be culture warriors.
Right.
but faithfully present, embodying the culture of God in our midst, because those who do not have the Spirit of God cannot embody the character of God. And so when we fight fire with fire, we always get burned because we defame the Lord's character. And what we're saying is that we don't trust you enough to actually be able to intervene or to use our faithful presence to actually transform people and ultimately culture.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing you say is we essentially, when we don't let God do his work, there's a lack of trust there.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lack of trust. It is we may have well-meaning intentions, but we have to recognize that we were not called to do certain things. God was, right? And God is able to stick up for and defend himself. And we get in trouble when we put ourselves in his place.
Yeah, I'm going to give you B just because we're on it. All right, so we're on it. So I'm going to talk about it. And so we're
going to go there.
I'm going to go there.
Right.
Okay, so
Feisty today.
I'm feisty today, and I'm willing. This is extra takes. I'm willing to push the envelope some here. Right. Okay, so let's take the Super Bowl halftime. Okay, now again, hey, you might have a different opinion, and if so, you can email me. Be happy to read it, as long as you're respectful. So we were hearing a lot of rumors about Bad Bunny in the sense of what he's going to do. Now, yes, I mean, I don't know any of his songs. I know when I was watching Adam Sandler's Happy Gilmore 2, he's actually a character on
funny.
Yeah. I mean, so that's the only thing I know about Bad Bunny. I'm like, who's this person? And then my kids are having to tell me who he is. Okay, so. But he's Puerto Rican, and so he is this 7-time Grammy winner, like I think Latin Grammy. Like, I mean, so he's well known. Yeah. Okay. So then you have a TPS USA that comes out, and so we're going to create a whole nother halftime show, and in some sense we're going to mix like God and country. And they're going to get people, and again, I didn't even watch that. I didn't even, Joni and I, we did a date night because I didn't really care about the Seahawks. I didn't care about the Seahawks or the Pats. So on the way home from our date night, I'm like, Joni, will you like pull up, what are people saying about Bad Bunny's performance?
Right.
And it's like any other Super Bowl halftime performance. You got half the people loves it, half the people hate it. And then, but you have this like, well, I would love it if I could understand it. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not talking to Americans. I'm actually talking to Christians living in America.
There's a difference.
There is a difference. Yeah. So this was an opportunity for us to actually have empathy for our Latino brothers and sisters of actually feeling like a minority in a majority culture. Because yes, watching that halftime show and them, and Bad Bunny singing Spanish, yes, I wouldn't have known anything about Spanish. And sure, I could have got huffy and puffy and I could have stormed off and did my own thing and boycotted it because he was going to do Spanish. But what I would have done is I would have offended my Latino brothers and sisters, and I would have strategically and intentionally used a moment where I could actually empathize with my Latino brothers and sisters so that I could feel what it feels like to be a minority.
Yeah.
Like, so this is part of where we are so shallow-minded many times as Christians living in America because we're so easily offended. Stop being easily offended, and then stop drinking the Kool-Aid of what rumors you hear about what he's going to do. Because I would actually say it really wasn't all that bad when you look at the history of Super Bowl halftimes. Yep. Because again, I was having Joni read, and then I watched at least like parts of it. When I finally got home, and I'm like, and then somebody's like, well, he was grabbing himself. Everybody's grabbed themselves. So here's what I said. So I was processing this in my quiet time today. and I'm going to read. I'm going to read you what I read in my quiet time today, so I can actually set it up for you. But it comes from 1 Corinthians.
Okay.
1 Corinthians 4.
Okay.
So Paul, he's kind of upset with the Corinthians because they are prideful. They think they're just better than everybody. They're puffed up, and Paul's just kind of had enough. And so here's what he writes. He says, "We," talking about him and the other apostles, we have been made a spectacle to the whole universe, to angels as well as to human beings. We are fools for Christ. But you're so wise in Christ." So he's being sarcastic there. "Well, we are weak, but undoubtedly you're strong. We're honored. You're honored, but undoubtedly we're dishonored. To this very hour we go hungry and thirsty. We are in rags. We are brutally treated. We are homeless." Paul says we work hard with our own hands. When we are cursed, we bless. When we are persecuted, we endure it. There you go. There's an endurance to the attacks of the enemy. Paul says when we are slandered, we answer kindly. And here's what he says. We have become the scum of the earth, the garbage of the world right up to this moment. Let that sink in. Paul's saying he and the apostles who are doing gospel ministry in a pagan world, we have become the scum of the earth, the garbage of this world right up to this moment.
That's the greatest missionary of all time.
It's the greatest missionary of all time. And so here's what I wrote. Because because I'm reading this devotionally. And so I'm like, I think this is a timely, because earlier in that chapter, Paul writes to the Corinthians, he says, "Now it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful." So what he's saying is that God has entrusted to us the gospel and this ministry, this mission, and that we must prove faithful. Now, here's the thing. We cannot determine whether or not we've been faithful. God is the one who determines whether we are faithful, because Paul goes on to say is that God alone is the judge. So therefore, if he is the judge, our faithfulness is actually judged according to God, not us. So we must prove faithful. So I said, this is a timely word for myself, that it is God alone who is my judge and the one who holds me accountable and will prove my faithfulness. He's the one who actually will approve, affirm whether or not I'm faithful. So he's going to prove my faithfulness. And then I do think it is a solid word for Christians living in America. They are so angry. They're so frustrated with the direction of this country, and they're so hostile to the world. Just like last night with the TP USA halftime show, it was started by Christians who mixed politics and Christianity together. They boycotted the Super Bowl halftime show and did their own. There's a whole segment of Christians that live as if they are better than Christ. They are not willing to be seen as the scum of the earth, the garbage of the world, but that is the position and posture we have to take. That is that Christ has called us to take in order for him to actually be lifted high. We don't lift him high fighting nor boycotting the world. We lift him high being meek, with strength under pressure, humble, gentle, patient, kind, compassionate, and in many cases faithfully quiet, while waiting on him to demonstrate his power through our weakness.
You mentioned there the line that many Christians are acting like they're better than Christ. What do you mean by that?
Well, because they're doing things that Christ didn't himself do. Christ's not boycotting the Roman Empire. You could say he boycotted the temple because that was God's people. And he didn't really boycott. What he was doing is trying to transform. But he wasn't boycotting the world. And here's the thing about Christians, and I would even say this is also the thing about America. If you really understand American heritage, we are a nation of immigrants. And to sit here and to judge a person because he speaks Spanish or sings in Spanish, when I don't know, I really don't know if that is even being faithful to being an American, a nation of immigrants. And definitely I wouldn't say it is definitely being open to, if you even think about Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico is actually part of the U.S.
Yeah.
Now, it's not, from what I understand, it's not a full country, a full state.
Yeah, it's U.S. territory.
It's U.S. territory, but nevertheless, it's a U.S. territory.
Yeah, and this gets to the way we engage culture, right?
Yeah.
And this is where the rubber meets the road. And honestly, I think we as Christians have not thought deeply about how to engage culture. We are often reactive, and in this case, it feels like we are reactive, being led by a political party or political persuasions. And what you have helped us try to process over these few years, and this is the culture engagement that we do in the summer, and this is something that I've learned from you. So as I see this quote storm brewing with the Super Bowl halftime show, I can actually say, hey, this is an opportunity for me to consider how we're going to engage culture.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're able to frame it that way, you can actually start to, and not just do it in most of you probably knew this was coming, right? So you're not just going to be thinking about it one time as it's happening, but you have some time to process it. You can consider how it makes you feel. You can consider how you react, but you can also consider how would it make Jesus feel? How would Jesus react? How would he want us to engage? In processing that with our family members, with our spouses, with our trusted people, may help us engage differently with the world than just being so reactionary.
Yeah, and then when you look at it again, in this where I don't want to have a tick for a tat. Like I don't want to punch and then have people punch back. But when you look at even Kid Rock and just looking at his past. Really. If we're going to, and this is part of where I get so. I really do. I get so righteously indignant at sometimes the dumbness of Americans, and particularly Christians in America. So yeah, we're going to make it's more wholesome. No, it's more of what you want. And let's just be honest. It's just more of what you want. And again, I'm talking to Christians. I'm not talking to Americans. Listen, if Americans want to do a separate halftime show, then do a separate halftime show. But I had people coming up to me. I saw Christians, man. Well, we're going to tune into the halftime show at TPUSA. We ain't going to watch that garbage. And it's kind of like, as if that's the only garbage that the halftime, it's just, oh my gosh,
Yeah, and I think what I'm hearing from you is when we do that, a couple things. I think we're missing an opportunity to engage culture in a thoughtful way, and we're also we may be blinded to the way God would be leading us to engage.
Absolutely. And then that goes back to, it really does. I'm not going to do some gymnastics here, but it goes back to breakthrough. Like the church in America, we need a breakthrough, but I'm telling you, we have not broken down yet. We haven't come to a breaking point. We're still fighting like the world. We're still thinking like the world, and we have to start thinking like Christ. We actually have to start having the mind of Christ. We do have to remember that if the world hated Christ, the world's going to hate us. And so we are the scum of the earth. We are the garbage. And so, but until we actually get to that point, until we actually, break down over the condition of the church, until we actually break down over the condition of the world, until we actually come to this breaking point that we've had all we can stand with a mediocre church that doesn't really know how to engage culture well, until we get to that, we're dealing with so many enemies that we got to overcome.
So you are you're obviously passionate about leading and shepherding us, the community here at Northland. So why did you bring that up today for? Obviously, the organizers of TPUSA are not going to listen to this,
Right.
but the faithful Northlanders are. So how do you want, how would you want those who are listening to that that may feel all sorts of ways? How do you want us to, engage in this?
Well, I think because when you're looking at endure the enemies, because that's where I'm really trying to connect these dots here.
Yeah.
That
I think
we have to endure the enemies. We don't slap them upside the head. We don't, and again, the world, we are waging war against the world, the flesh, and the devil, okay? Yeah. And this is part of where a lot of times the way we engage, it's because we're not enduring. And we don't want to endure. We want to eradicate the enemy. And I'm going to tell you, until Jesus comes back, the enemy will not be eradicated. And this is the thing, the way Jesus actually engaged his enemy was to give his life up for them. That's the breakthrough. Is that he literally gave his life for his enemies. While we were at enmity towards Christ, Christ died for us. But Christians today, particularly in America, we just want to eradicate them. We want to cancel them. And again, I'm not saying you subject yourself in that and again, we've talked through these, when we go through our TED series and when we go through A&E, I'm helping people to try to process how do you engage culture well.
Right.
But I mean, that's where I'm saying, we're just not fighting the way the world fights. It's kind of like Moses when he realized he did wake up one day and he felt like he was supposed to be a rescuer and a redeemer. He just tried to rescue Israel the way that an Egyptian would rescue, by literally taking matters into their own hands and killing them.
Yeah.
And God's like, that's not, no.
And he had to flee.
Let me do that. Let me be the judge. You're not the judge. Let me be the judge.
Right.
And then when you look at when you look at all of those plagues, it wasn't until the last one that God is really now being the judge and executioner over all of Egypt. And so anyway, so that's what, reason why I brought it up, because it's a very relevant, and I'm taking a different probably tone and a different perspective than what some pastors are going to do, and take,
Sure.
Because we actually want a multi-ethnic church.
We have one.
Yeah, we want one, and so I know, and this is where I'm trying to empathize, because sympathy and empathy are two different things. Sympathy says, I see you. Yeah. Empathy means I'm entering in and I'm feeling it with you.
Yeah.
And I know that, by entering into kind of more of a minority feel, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I want to know what they're saying. But that's the way many of our brothers and sisters live.
Yeah.
And again, it's okay for us to empathize. And so that's part of where, again, if we want to be the church that God has called us to be, we got to be a church that emulates the God we claim we serve.
Amen.
So, anyways.
Amen.
In some sense, I would say I digress. It's just really setting up breakthrough.
Yeah, I actually think there's a lot of connections.
I think so. I mean, I really do think so.
Yeah. So let me give you this high level overview, and then we'll probably dig into just a couple of these 10 ways. You gave us this big chart, where they come from, what they do, how it affects. You talked about the past, the community, these bad leaders, the broken systems, the personal, internal, and then the external. And then from there, you pivoted us to these 10 ways.
Yeah, let's because there's some things too that so I think these are really, really important that you understand these. Bad community corrupts good morals. Bad leaders lead you in a bad direction.
Yeah.
And it's even to think about. Again, this is extra takes. So there are times where I purposely do not wade into just waters that are already, messy, just for the sake of wading in, sure. But people, want pastors to weigh in about the social media thing about Trump, and here's my thing is like, I'm not a public supporter of any politician. I'm a public supporter of King Jesus, so I don't feel like I have to necessarily weigh into everything. Listen, I mean, here's the thing. This is where, like, if you are following community leaders who are bad leaders, listen, that's on you. Like, that's not like sure, he is not the bastion of moral fortitude or moral beauty, And so, why do I have to speak into something that I would that if you hear what I preach on, I would find that repugnant.
Yeah.
And so this is part of where I'm like, and this is where I want us to be a different church, because I want us to know, hey, we can determine what a bad leader is and what a good leader is. So we can determine what a good community is, what a bad community is. Yeah. Because here's what we would know is that a bad leader actually keeps us stuck. A bad leader actually can mislead us. A bad leader can actually keep us in this state where we're always in need of breakthrough because we're looking to them and they're really a poor example. Same thing for a community. And then broken systems. Like I had somebody who appreciated this, and I'm glad, because when you look at America, I mean, we've had some really jacked up broken systems that have kept people, particularly the black community and black brothers and sisters, poor because of how they created, whether on purpose or unintentionally. I'm not going to be a judge. Let God be the judge of that. But have these bad systems that keep people stuck where they're always in need of breakthrough. And then they keep them stuck by always promising them that they'll give them breakthrough. Like, that's a broken system. Churches, churches that are in need of breakthrough. I mean, this is where broken systems and their past come to haunt them. Oh, we've done it all the time. We've done this way all the time. You almost died. Well, you keep doing what you're doing. It don't make any sense to me. And then broken systems. I hear this. We become too corporate, all these systems and accountability. Listen, last time I checked, God created, and we talked about this in Genesis 1, God created the systems and structures that were going to house the life that he created on day 4, day 5, day 6. God is a God of functional systems and structures. Flourishing systems and structures. So this is part of where you want to get your structures right. You want to get your systems right.
He's a God of order. He's not a God of chaos.
And so this is why this is so important that you've got to look and be aware of your own life. If you need breakthrough, is my past haunting me? Am I surrounding myself with bad community that is keeping me stuck?
Yeah.
Do I have broken systems in my life? Here's a broken system. Your faith framework could be a broken system. Now, we've talked about that faith framework, where you have your worldview, you have your purpose, you have your ethics, and then you have your spiritual disciplines. That is what we would call a faith framework, and that is what we would call a system or a structure.
Yeah.
And so, man, you might got a jacked up faith, which is why you staying stuck.
Yeah, Jesus may be on that, but he's not in the middle. And if he's not in the middle, it's broken.
It's broken. And so, I mean, I'm telling you, so that's where you got to do the deep work. That's why I'm like, you got to do the deep work of trying to figure out what's holding you back.
It's too much work. It's too hard.
Well, that goes into your personal and internal. Is that because Americans are stinking lazy.
Well,
we are mediocre. We don't want to. And I'm not saying every American, but when you look at the general population of Americans, we are mediocre at best. Our test scores tell us that we're mediocre.
Well, and what stuck out to me was there's so much energy and effort that's sucked out of you. You talk about this column of how it affects you, right? And this really, I think if you are having a hard time understanding why you may need a breakdown first, is this kind of shows you is that you're not going to put in all this work, this time, energy, effort to get out of it, to get out of this mess, to put in, there's no silver bullet, to go to counseling for a year or two, to to reconcile relationships, to get out of relationships, like the hard work that this takes, like you're not just going to do it just because.
Yeah.
Like there's got to be some sort of catalyst in your life that causes you to change. But that's you got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired, because these dysfunctional systems suck the life out of you.
Yes. And that's part of where, like, that's why I drew that, kind of put together that image, because you got all of these enemies and obstacles and opponents, and you got these barriers, you got these wars. I mean, they're reinforcing to keep you where you are. And that's a lot. That's overwhelming to know you got those 5 and everything that those 5 bring to the table to reinforce your stuckness, to reinforce your brokenness. Like, that's where it's not easy.
And when you're talking about then an organization, when it doesn't just rely on your effort, but it relies on the effort of all of us, right? Your putty buddies and everybody.
Yeah.
Like you need people on the wall.
Yeah.
To do it with you.
So who's your champion? You got a champion?
Yeah.
Who's your champion?
I got a couple champions. So you're a champion. Gus is a champion. In different ways, Kaylee's a champion.
Yep.
Yeah.
You need somebody who gives you cover.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, you're flawed, and they're flawed too, which is why you need a champion.
Yep.
You need somebody who, they're going to go to bat for you. They're going to give you everything that you need to succeed, even in covering your inability. Like you have to think about it. Like Nehemiah, he's a cupbearer. He drinks wine for a living.
Like possibly poison wine, though. That's not
possibly.
Easy.
He doesn't know anything about rebuilding a wall. It's not like he was sitting there with King Artaxerxes when Artaxerxes is, planning, projects. But here's what. So Artaxerxes gave him everything he needed to get there and to be successful.
Yeah.
So you got to, who's going to do that for you? And it could be your dad. It could be your mom.
Yeah.
Like my dad and my mom, they're my biggest cheerleaders, champion. Oh my gosh! Like I would not be sitting here if it wasn't for my dad and my mom.
Yeah,
huge champions. You need the why to weather. What is your big why? Again, I always do remember The Biggest Loser when I used to watch that, years ago.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that was so clear in my head. Because I didn't watch it a lot, but I watched it enough to know exactly what you're talking about.
They put him right on the spot. Why are you here? Why do you need to lose 300 pounds?
That's the most compelling part of the whole show.
Yeah.
At the very beginning.
Yeah. And I wish they would have, just reminded us throughout the past, like the episodes. Like, here's what I said. This is the why. Here's why I'm putting my body through hell. So.
Because I want to be here for my kids.
Yeah.
I want to be here for my grandkids.
What's your why?
Yeah.
What did you think about the Putty Buddy?
You had a lot of fun with words this week.
I did.
And Putty Buddy was one of them.
Yeah.
So you don't be a fuddy duddy.
Yeah, you want to be a putty buddy, not a fuddy duddy. Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I understood. So did you ever figure out what that little spackle thing is? Like what's
It's a spackle.
Is that what it's called, a spackle?
I think, yeah. Like it's not a spatula.
But the spackle was.
It's a man.
Is the spackle the tool or the spackle was the actual putty?
No,
I think the spackle was the putty.
Putty. Yeah. So
gosh, this is bad.
Yeah,
we're not even gonna look it up.
No.
This is us raw and unfiltered.
I have no idea. Like, I still don't know.
Tim the Toolman.
A spackler. A spackler. Spackle.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean,
so someone yelled it in the 9 o'clock, but you might not have heard it.
I didn't hear it.
Okay.
I didn't hear it in clear. So,
so maybe Monday night they can help you out.
Maybe. We'll see. Somebody can help me.
So this number 4, put your heart into it.
So Joni's like, no one says that. I'm like, yes, they do in the South.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put your butt into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got home and they gave me such a hard time. All my kids, Joni, put your back into it. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's one. But,
that's both.
But put your butt into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that.
I
know exactly what you meant.
I showed them on Gemini. I wasn't even going to waste ChatGPT. I was like, even Gemini knows this.
You didn't want to use up your limit for the day. But I really love that point because man, I think a lot of people needed to hear that. God's not asking you to put more energy into it. We are such doers. But are we doing things without our heart in it?
Well, so you're talking about this might change. So I actually went to look this up, because they actually give a scientific term. Okay, so imagine your car somehow you woke up and in your driveway your car was in some sense flipped over. Okay. So let's say I go out there and say, man, you need to flip your car back over. And in some sense, you're saying that to yourself. I don't know how my car got flipped over. It got flipped over. I got to flip it back over, okay? And so I go in there and I see you. I'm walking my dog, Mater, and I see you trying to turn over your car. I could say, man, put your butt into it. Like, try harder. You ain't going to do it. And at some point, you're actually going to zonk out. You're gonna flame out because, man, there's only so much energy and effort you can put into it. But if your child was stuck under your car, what they say is that moms have 17 times the amount of energy that they could actually lift the car up to get their child out.
Superhuman strength. I've heard that.
Yeah. And so it's that adrenaline because ultimately your heart's there. Your heart's there, and so you're like, I got to do this. If I don't do it, my child dies.
I think this one's got to be paired with, from last week, you talk about spending some time with the Lord.
Yeah.
And I think in our busyness, in our our hectic schedules, we may not even realize that our heart's not in things.
Yeah.
Whether it's work, whether it's our family, like we may just be going.
Right. Yeah. Part of going through the motions. Yeah, absolutely. That's where is your heart into it? Or you're like, I'll just get another marriage. What's the worst? I file bankruptcy.
Yeah.
What's worse? I mean, you could get there. Well, I mean, if that's how you're thinking, well then, yeah. I mean, I don't know if your heart's into it.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then these next couple, post up, pray up. You said you can't post up yourself, but you can post up for someone else.
Yeah, like you can. So it's hard for you to watch your own back.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but you can post up for somebody else.
Yeah.
And you can stand guard for them. And that's part of where we're supposed to do it for one another. We're supposed to be each other's post up. That's part of where you get your accountability partner. You get people that speak into your life that see your weaknesses, see your vulnerabilities, see your blind spots. Because again, your weaknesses, vulnerabilities, your blind spots, they can be the gap that the enemy uses to actually get in and to sabotage you. Okay, so that's where I'm like, you can be a post up for somebody else, but you can't post up yourself.
Yeah. All right, this may be your favorite one. Preacher power.
I love preaching.
But wait, you're the preacher. You said we are all preachers.
Yeah, you can all become a preacher. You can all become a preacher because all you're doing is preaching the word back to the Lord. Lord, remember, we remember you, Lord, great and awesome God. That's preaching. That's reminding you. You're reminding yourself. Man, and we serve a great God. He has us here. God's doing something. God wants his city to be the city of shalom. He's with us. He's great. He's awesome. He's mighty. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, you preaching it. And then again, you're really ultimately preaching your why again. Because if we don't do it, man, our kid's going to suffer.
Yeah, because you said the next generation is in desperate need of our faith. Not a faith. Not just any old faith, but our faith, the Christian faith.
Yeah.
So that, number 7, wage war with a weapon and a wrench. You like that one, don't you?
I do like that one.
Yeah, that one's good.
Yeah.
Because the Bible is both a weapon, is both a wrench. So the wrench is for building up of what God wants to do in your life, and the weapon, Jesus responded with the weapon of the word, is what God has said. Yeah, I love that. And that kind of goes back to our previous conversation of what type of weapons are we using, and are we using weapons that are different than the weapon that Jesus would?
And no, their
would
weapon
use?
was a weapon of defense, not a weapon of offense.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a really big distinction. So God has not called us to take these spears and these javelins and go on the offense. Now they're there to protect us, and so I do just want to kind of bring that out. Now again, how does that apply to us? I mean, this is part of where when you look at the word as a weapon to protect our mind, to protect our heart, that's where we preach truth and sing truth and speak truth over our lives. We speak the centrality of Christ, and it prevents us and protects us from falling into idolatry, worshiping things more than Christ. And so that's that. So because the world, again, this is, and it goes even back to our conversation early on, because the world's influence it's very powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And so the world is on offense. And so we got to have a weapon of defense that protects the world from penetrating us. Now, the advancement that we have, and this is, in some sense, you can call it our weapon per se, but it's really the wrench, it's the tool by which Jesus is building his kingdom, and that is love. So in some sense, and that's why we don't revile when we've been reviled. We don't mock when we've been mocked. We don't ridicule when we've been ridiculed, because those are the weapons of the enemy. Nehemiah never mocked them back. Nehemiah never ridiculed them back. He's just like, man, I just ain't got time to deal with you.
Yeah.
I got too much work going on here. And so, and I can't wait to show in a couple of weeks. I can't wait to show an element of breakthrough. How do you know that you have broken through? And so we'll see that. So. But yeah, so that's the thing about a weapon and a wrench.
Yeah, great. Number 8, make right your wrongs. He said if you had a hard heart, or if you have a hard heart, it will bring about a hard head and keep you stuck. I think this one really connects to, the put your heart into it. And if you're just putting more and more energy into it, it's possible you have a hard heart. A hard head.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's more, this is where, I could even have done, deeper work and really correlated enemies to these ways. I would think make right your wrongs. Listen, hey, if you messed up in your past, just make it right, man. I'm sorry. That's an easy one. Yeah. But a lot of times it's hard for us to say I'm sorry. So if you need a breakthrough in your marriage, let me ask you this: have you not come to the realization that there's some things in your past that have offended your spouse, that if you could just make right your wrongs by just saying you're sorry and why you're sorry? I'm telling you, that could go a long way. But if you just stuck, well, I ain't saying I'm sorry until they say I'm sorry. Make right your wrongs. Okay, you spent way too much money. Okay, can you make right those right? Systems. I mean, that's where I'm saying, ultimately what they're doing is they're making right their wrong system.
Right.
That's what they're doing.
Which was connected to the past, which was connected to some bad leadership, broken system, and it was connected to all of these.
Yeah. So it's a way, again, that's where you get to the web of obstacles, the web of enemies, the web of, they all come together. I mean, and it's a pretty strong presence.
So number 9, don't take the bait. Wait.
Yeah, I wish I had time, because I had said, I had told people when I was talking about Esther and kind of breaking point, I said, you'll need to know this passage for next week. And I did say it on Saturday.
Okay.
I don't have time to really say it. So I needed to keep it kind of succinct. But there's a story in Esther where she knows, and she's like, hey, pray for me for 3 days, fast, and then I'll do something. I will go to the king. So she does go to the king. The king hands out a scepter, and he says to her, "Hey, babe, I'll give you up to half my kingdom. You just tell me what you want." And Esther's like, "Well, all I want from you is I want to cook you dinner." And so the king's like, "All right." And she's like, "Also bring Haman." King's like, "Okay, second in charge. Perfect, I'll bring him." So they come to dinner. Esther fixes them an incredible meal because what she's going to do, she's going to expose Haman for the evil villain that he is. And that night, for some reason, we don't know, the Bible doesn't say, but she doesn't oust Haman. She doesn't out him out then. She waits. Now, again, we don't know. The word does not tell us why she doesn't tell the king, because the king, even at the dinner, says, "What would you like, baby? Because I want to give you anything that you want, up to half my kingdom." And so Esther's like, "I'd love to cook you dinner again. You and Haman, will you come tomorrow?" And so the king's like, "I've loved this food, love you. Sure, I will. I will come back. Haman and I will come back tomorrow." Well, that night the king couldn't sleep. So he's trying to count his sheep. He cannot sleep, and so he calls one of his servants in to read him a bedtime story. But the bedtime story that he wants the servant to read him is basically his own diary and journal from his chronicles. And so the servant actually reads the portion of where Mordecai stepped in to save him. And the king had forgotten about this. And so the next morning comes, and so he goes to Haman. He's like, "Haman, what should we do for the man?" And he just lists out the man who basically saves me. And Haman's like, we ought to throw him a big party. We ought to parade him around. We ought to do all of this. And King Xerxes says, "Awesome, you need to go do that to Mordecai." And so Haman, as you could imagine, he's got his head tucked between his tail, because now he's got to give all of these props and celebrations to Mordecai when he thought, the king was talking about him. Well, that night, that's when Esther outs Haman. So even though she called the dinner, she didn't take the bait, because there was something that was off, where she's like, this isn't the right time. But she waited a 24-hour period, and in 24 hours, God worked out the condition by which, when she outed Haman, became the prime time. The soil was fertile for God to move. And so that's where, I wanted to say that, but because I'm telling you, sometimes you've got to endure. You've got to endure the enemies. You've got to endure the attacks. Hey, breakthrough's coming, but hey, don't take the bait. Wait, don't take the bait. Wait, that shortcut, man, it might look good. Man, I'm telling you, that bigger salary might look good, but that actually might be bait. Don't take the bait. Wait.
I love it. And our final one, keep going, don't give up.
Yeah. That's kind of like our tagline.
140 years of standing in ruin, and they completed it in 52 days. I can't believe it.
I know. 52 days. 52 days. So.
Amazing. Good conversation. This was fun.
All right. Well, Northland family and friends, hopefully you have stayed with us through this lively, because I felt like preaching this podcast. Lively. It has been lively. But Northland family and friends, we love you. We're grateful for you. I hope that you appreciate what we are trying to bring every single week, and just deepening discipleship conversations to help us think biblically and Christ-centeredly in a world that is in desperate need of that. So with that, blessings.
Thanks for listening to Extra Takes. Be sure to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you won't miss a single episode.